Hello, everyone. My name is Mansee Gupte, and I am an accredited psychotherapist with British Association of Counselling and Psychotherapists, UK, and I'm also a dialectical behavior therapist. I have over 17 years of experience in mental health sector, and I specialize working with children, young people, and families with mental health difficulties, like moderate to severe mental health difficulties. So today we're going to talk about a very interesting topic, and that is helping your child manage anxiety, and I'm going to share quite a lot of practical tips for parents. I have been an expat twice in my life. First, when I moved from India to UK, and then when I moved from UK to Norway recently. I'm also going to mention today about the challenges and anxieties that we experience as expats. We move from one country to another country, and how our children also experience similar difficulties and anxieties. So let's start with this topic and let's dive into this topic. So these are details about me. You can find my website here and email me if you have any queries or any doubts as well. So today what we are going to cover about is understanding anxiety, challenges of an expat family and living in bilingual or multilingual culture. And we're also going to look into strategies for managing anxiety with demonstrations. So let's get started. Anxiety, that has become so common now, isn't it? Like so many people keep using this word anxiety. But let's try to understand what anxiety means. Anxiety is feeling of worry, fear, or unease about something with an uncertain outcome. It's a normal and a natural emotional and physical response. It is your body's response to threat or challenges as well. So, anxiety is a very common response, and we all experience that as human beings. Let me tell you a story. So, when we lived back in the hunter gatherers and the Stone Age time, what was the danger for us as human beings? The animals, the lions and tigers around us. So, when we were in that situation and a lion or a tiger came in front of us, I think our body automatically warned us, alerted us about there's a threat or a danger around us. And we responded in a certain way. Our brain automatically worked on it and gave certain responses. So probably first response was to fight, that is gather or look for a weapon and attack a lion or a tiger. The other response was I'm not strong enough to fight the lion, so let me flight or run away from the lion. Another response was you were so extremely scared of the lion or the tiger that your brain just, went into a freeze mode and you had no idea what to do or how to react to that. So you just absolutely froze. And another response was you were just trying to avoid conflict and try to please the lion or try to behave in a certain way that the lion would not attack or harm you. So that is similarly the case with us right now. So over the years, with the evolution, our brain is still the same, our body is still the same, but there are no lions or tigers around us anymore. But that has been substituted and replaced by other threatening and dangerous situation or anxiety provoking situations for us. So, for example, it could be like an examination, a sports event or a competition, or a job interview. It could be various of these things that it kind of increases or makes us anxious. So, whenever we are in a threatening or a stressful situation, our body automatically acts into these responses. So, your brain and body will ask you to fight, that is, to attack, verbal aggression, fight, violence, because it believes you're in a dangerous situation, or it would want you to escape, avoid, run away from that situation to a place of safety where you feel secure. It will also make your body freeze where you're unable to respond in a fight or a flight response. But it also avoids the confusion and the conflict, and you would want to get into a people pleasing behavior as well. So, do you identify when you are in an anxiety provoking situation, which is your usual response? Do you tend to fight? Do you tend to flight? Is it freeze or is it fawn? Try to identify your own response and try to also look for your child's response. So, when they are in a stressful distressing or an anxiety provoking situation, what sort of response do they have? This will kind of help you really understand about how automatically your brain and body reacts and responds to anxiety. How does anxiety actually look? Let's try to understand more about that. So, how does it look in children? So, I'm talking about children from age 5 to 12, but this is also applicable to toddlers below the age of 5. So, children find us like parents quite safe, secure place, and it helps them feel nurtured and make them feel safe. So, when they are separated from that person, from the parent or that caregiver, that leads to a lot of distress and anxiety provoking situation in them. That leads to separation anxiety. So you find that children who are really anxious, they are anxious during the time when they are separated from their caregivers or the people they love or they trust, that is their parents. You also notice that children are very scared and fearful of new situations, that is probably starting a new activity or starting school, attending social gatherings or a crowded place as well. You can also notice that children find it very difficult during starting school, first day of school, or transitioning from primary school to middle school to high school as well. That transition, that change also provokes that also gives a lot of anxiety to them. You can also notice there is change in their behavior. So you would notice there's a lot of clinginess when they start attending school or start doing something new. There's a lot of anger, irritation, irritability. But the number of tantrums also increase when they start school, when they are faced with that stress in their life. A lot of times we as adults or parents see this behavior and wonder what is this behavior about? But we fail to understand that this behavior might be coming from anxiety, might be coming from certain fears that this child is experiencing. So it would be helpful for us as adults to look into not only the behavior, but what is probably causing that behavior. It could be anxiety, it could be something else. So it could be helpful for you to explore what exactly is happening behind your child's behavior. Is it anxiety or is it something else that is bothering your child? So let's move to teenagers. Let's understand more about teenagers from this. Yes, they feel a lot of anxiety, especially currently around performance. They are going through so much physical, bodily changes, hormonal changes as well, and they're already confused with that, which adds to their anxiety. They worry a lot about their academic performance, sports, even social situations. Social media adds to that stress and tension for them. You can also notice that a lot of times teenagers withdraw, isolate themselves, and they're just scared of being judged by their peers, their family members, their extended family members, and friends as well. Due to which they cancel their plans and isolate themselves and stay at home. You also obviously notice mood changes in a teenager. There's increased irritability, sadness, or emotional outbursts. Lot of times as adults, we focus on these mood changes and all the behavior that's going on with our teenagers. But we tend to forget that they could be anxious as well. And certain of these or some of these behaviors could be a result of anxiety. So it's very important to understand and explore if our teenager is behaving in a certain way, if they're isolating, if they're really being conscious about certain things, about their physical appearance. It could be also because of anxiety. So now how we've seen that how anxiety looks in children and teenagers, let's try to understand what exactly happens in our body. What are the physical symptoms of anxiety? So, as I mentioned, anxiety is your body's alarm system. It alerts you in certain situations when there is challenges or stressful situations around you. So, when a person experiences anxiety, what happens with them? As you can notice here, the brain is hijacked. That is, there's so many thoughts racing in their mind. There are millions of thoughts going on in a person's mind when they are in an anxiety provoking situation or having an anxiety attack that they are unable to think rationally. Due to this, also their head is dizzy, they feel lightheaded, and sometimes people complain about having headaches. Have you noticed when you are in an anxiety attack or when you feel anxious, your breathing changes? You're breathing fast or you're feeling breathing shallow. Now, that kind of experiences and of breathing differently adds to your anxiety as well. A lot of time, children and teenagers notice that their stomach churns. You can remember, or your children saying, "My stomach is paining. There are butterflies in my stomach," and that is all caused due to anxiety as well, because of course, the blood flow, and it relaxes muscle in the stomach and intestines as well, causing nausea. And that's how you feel that weird tummy uh, ache also, or weird feeling in your stomach. You also notice that children, when they are kind of anxious, they are not relaxed in their body. Their body is not loose. It's quite tight and tense. You can notice that tight and tenseness in their shoulders, in their hands and joints also. Now, because of that constant tightness, that constant state of being in anxiety, they experience a lot of aches and pains. Some people also have noticed about having bladder relaxes, which means that they have this urge to pass urine whenever they are in an anxiety provoking situation. People also notice that their hands and legs tingle and tremble. There is this jelliness to their hands and legs, and there is this tingling, trembling, and numbness that they experience. Another common thing that people notice when they are in an anxiety attack or when they're feeling extremely anxious is their heart beats really faster. And that's a very common thing for them to notice. Similarly, body heats and sweats. That is, the face could go red, the palms are very sweaty, and the body gets like really warm, and they kind of describe it as hot flushes as well. You notice that the mouth becomes dry, the lips get dried, and the eyes also widen, which kind of makes their vision go a bit blur during the anxiety provoking situation. So, these are the very symptoms that we experience when we are having an anxiety attack or whenever we are in an anxious state. So, this is very important for you to understand that this is very normal, very natural for anybody experiencing anxiety. So, it's important to talk and discuss with your child if they are experiencing these things, that yes, they are in an anxiety provoking situation. And how to manage that, we will be moving to those techniques and strategies very soon. So, being an expat is not easy. I have been an expat myself twice in my life. First, when I moved from India to UK, and then when I moved from UK to Norway quite recently. So, being an expat, being from a bilingual or multilingual family, you can experience anxiety that comes along with that. I pointed outlined 4 points, 4 challenges that an expat would experience in terms of anxiety of being in a new country. So, the first is cultural adjustment. You are born with your own set of values, morals, principles, and a certain environment. But when you have to move and leave that environment and go to a new environment, that is so anxiety provoking, so different and unique for you. The educational system is different, and there is this so strong pressure for us to fit with the people around us. Now, the same thing happens with the teenager as well, isn't it? It's a new environment for them, a new country for them, absolutely new educational system, new school for them, and the massive peer pressure to fit into the school setup with his friend circle, and also the pressure of social media that just adds on to everything and makes the anxiety worse. Similarly, language barrier. If you're bilingual, multilingual, or if you have moved from a English speaking country to a non English speaking country, that kind of adds to a lot of anxiety and difficulties due to the language as well, especially if you don't know the language or you're not aware of the language to a great extent. So, for children, there is a stress of language differences because they have to switch between languages at home and school. You can also notice that children tend to think in a certain language, and that might not be same to what they speak also. So you can notice that somebody who is a native speaker, native language speaker, so somebody who speaks French, and if they move to a different country where they don't speak French, it creates a lot of conflicts within the young person or within the teenager as well in their thoughts and feelings and expression. Because they are probably thinking in French, but the language they are communicating is English, and they are not very well versed with English language. Now, due to that, what happens is they are not able to express their emotions and feelings very clearly. So it's very important for us to understand what they are going through, understand their anxiety, and encourage them to use the language that they feel comfortable, because we want to know about their thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Another thing that people tend to experience is social isolation. So, moving to a new country, establishing a social life is so hard and so difficult. And that really could lead you to feel lonely many a times. So, feelings of this loneliness, separation from extended family, that is such a real fear. And children and families and teenagers tend to experience that, which leads to so much of anxiety related concerns and behaviors. We also experience cultural expectations which are different, because coming from a certain cultural background, you are confused about the parenting styles. There's so much mismatched expectation. There are certain safeguarding issues and certain things when you are confused about what is acceptable and not acceptable in that country. So, for example, if you have grown up with a certain disciplinary style, and you think I am going to use that same technique, or if that's the only technique you know of how to discipline your child, moving to a certain new country, it might not be acceptable or it might be acceptable. So just understanding this difference in parenting style, the discipline style, is so important. But because of that confusion, it leads to anxiety as well and leads to the loneliness. It's very important for us to understand that if we as adults are experiencing these difficulties and anxiety, being an expat, moving to a new country, how difficult it must be for our children and teenagers. Because they are like sponge. They really absorb your energy. They absorb everything from you, good and bad. They also tend to absorb anxiety knowingly, unknowingly from you as well. So it's very important for you to be mindful about your own struggles and your own anxieties and difficulties, especially when you're around your children and teenagers. So let's understand more about the practical technique. So we have understood about anxiety. We've understood about how it looks in children and teenagers. We've also known about what are the physical symptoms of anxiety. Being an expat, we also know what are the difficulties and our own anxieties as well. So let's understand what do we do? How do we manage anxiety for us as an adult and also for our children? So the first technique we're going to talk about is grounding technique. The thing with grounding technique is it helps you to stay in present and keeps you quite grounded in here and now. So the first technique is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The best part about this technique is you can do it anytime, anywhere. You don't need any props for it. So how the technique goes: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So wherever you're sat now, whichever room, whichever place you're sat, just be mindful about which are the 5 things that you can see around you. Notice and name the 5 things around you. Which are the 4 things that you can feel, you can touch right now? So actually grab and touch 4 things around you. Can you feel the different textures of all these 4 things? Which are the 3 things that you can listen or hear right now in this room? 2 things that you can smell right now. And 1 thing that you can taste. So the principles of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is basically on your sensory needs and your sensations as well. And it helps you to stay quite grounded and stay in present and here and now. How it scientifically works is if you tell your brain, stop focusing about a certain thing, your brain does not really listen to that, isn't it? So if you tell your brain, oh, I don't want to think about it, brain does not really function that. So how do you divert your thoughts? How do you cut down that negative or overthinking thoughts? So instead of asking your brain to cut down those overthinking thoughts, you just let your brain focus on your current scenario, your current present situation. And that's how you guide your brain to focus on 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That will help you stay grounded, stay in present, and be in your and now situation. Because of this, it will also reduce your anxiety and help you manage your calm state of mind. The next is a very effective technique called butterfly hug. It's a way of reducing your anxiety. So, how do you do that? All you do is you cross your arms over your chest and just gently tap your shoulders alternatively with your hands. As you're tapping, take a deep breath. Focus on your inhale and your exhale. If you want, you can have a pleasant memory in your mind while you're doing this. And within few minutes, you will notice that as you're tapping, you start feeling quite calm, relaxed, and you are present in your and now situation. You can do this one with your children as well, younger children. You can just hold them in your arms and literally continue tapping as you're holding them. Another variation for this butterfly hug is you can literally say two affirmations: I am calm, I am safe, and just keep repeating that. I am calm, I'm safe. I'm calm, I'm safe. I'm calm, I'm safe. Doing this will definitely help you manage and reduce your anxiety, but this will so much help your child as well because they will know what to do and when to do and how to do it to reduce their distress. After grounding techniques, we move to breathing exercises. I know a lot of time children, teenagers, and parents have told me, oh, breathing exercises, they don't work for us. Nothing really helps. And I do get it. But these breathing exercises are with a twist because this requires a lot of visual attention as well. And it helps you focus as well as grounded because it will help you understand about your breathing, but also keep you quite engaged. This particular breathing exercise is called 4-8-7, which basically means you inhale for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 7 seconds, and exhale 8 seconds. Let us do it together. So when you're doing this 4-7-8 breathing exercise, which is guided and visually guiding you, it keeps you quite occupied as well and helps you carry out this breathing exercise in a very effective and helpful manner. Similarly, we've got another breathing exercise which is called box breathing. You might be aware of this breathing as a square breathing also. The principle is the same, where you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, and again hold for 4 seconds and repeat. So let's start and do this together. When we are struggling with anxiety and we have an anxiety attack, our body needs oxygen. And because we are so engaged with our body symptoms and the millions of thoughts that we're having in our mind, we tend to not focus on our breathing. You also notice one of the symptom of anxiety is breathing fast or shallow. So we're not breathing enough when we are in that anxiety panic state. What our body needs at that time is oxygen, and what we deprive our body at that time is of oxygen. So that is a reason when we are providing this enough oxygen to our brain, to our body, that is how it will release and reduce the symptoms of anxiety. So remember, next time when you are feeling anxious, it's very important to provide oxygen to your body, and doing such kind of breathing exercises will help to reduce your anxiety. This is another very popular, another very effective technique. This is also clubbed with grounding technique. So this is smell the flower and blow out the candle. So this is working on the principle of 3 seconds. So you inhale for 3 seconds as if you're smelling a flower, imaginary flower, and you exhale or blow out for 3 seconds as you're blowing out a candle. What I tend to do is I tend to ask my children, young people, and parents with whom I work regularly in my sessions about using this with the flower and tracing it with your finger as well. So tracing the flower with the finger will also, the petals of the flower with the finger will also help you stay in present and quite grounded. Plus you're doing the breathing exercises. So let's do this together. You can also add variations in this where you're closing your eyes and smelling the flower and blowing out the candle. But you can also ask which is your favorite flower, what does it smell like, imagine a flower, and imagine that you're smelling this particular flower and then blow out a candle and exhale it. So you can use various ways in which you can make it more interesting and fun for children. So I do get it. Now you've understood the techniques and strategies that you can use to reduce and manage your and your child's anxiety. But I hear it when you as parents say that how do we manage our teenagers and how do we manage teenagers when they feel anxious and when we are struggling with our own emotions as well. So for this, how do we manage it as parents? How do we manage anxiety as parents? I will be talking about 3 techniques that you can use to manage your anxiety and your child's anxiety as well. So the first one I think you must have heard about is the word co-regulation. It is a very strong strategy and it is a very supportive strategy. What co-regulation means is practicing it together. So the techniques and strategies that we've done now, and you just learned and understood about it, that is something you can do together with your child, helping them understand that you're not on your own, we are in this together and we can do it together. That kind of reinforcement helps the children to practice this technique and strategy often, helping them whenever they're distressed, they know what to do. A lot of times our children, our teenagers struggle to first understand their anxiety, but also even identifying an anxiety, understanding their anxiety symptoms, they tend to forget, they don't know what to do to reduce or manage anxiety. So co-regulation could be a very good strategy to begin with, where you are doing these techniques and strategies together with them, helping them understand that we are together and you're not on your own, you're not lonely. So as a parent, what can you do? How can you implement this? How can you initiate that conversation? You can tell your child, let's take a few deep breaths together and pick up one of the breathing or a grounding technique and do it together with them. You can also say, let's make a plan to tackle your assignments one at a time. Let's think through this together and find a solution. Now, being in this together, practicing it together will give them that hope and confidence and will also help the teenager to understand what to do next time when I'm anxious. The second strategy is validate your child's feeling. Acknowledge how they're feeling, what they're going through, and be on the same page with them. You can say to them in that how to communicate, you can say to them, I understand why this feels big to you, and it's okay to feel anxious. We'll work through this together. We have to normalize anxiety and tell them that yes, it is difficult, it's not helpful, it's not what you would want to experience or feel, but it's normal to feel anxious. And I know because of this certain incident, you are feeling anxious. We will work through this together. I know you have a deadline to submit your assignment. You are feeling anxious about it. I do get it. It's okay to feel anxious because you've got your deadline tomorrow and you've got a lot of things pending. We'll work through this together. Let's come up with a plan about how we can work it out together. Now, that will give them quite hope and also that assurance that yes, things will get better, but it is also going to have a better relationship. It will enhance your relationship with your child and help you to have a better bonding time with your child as well. You can also say, it's okay to feel anxious about this situation. I feel that sometimes too. Let's talk about what's making you feel this way. and we can figure it out together. Now, this acknowledgement is something what your child wants. This is what they want to hear from you. That will make them feel accepted and loved as well. The last technique is, I know it's very hard, but it is model calm behavior. I know it's not very easy, but it's a skill, it's a technique. The more you practice, the more it comes to you. And I know it's so difficult with teenagers when it's so easy to slip into an argument with them, the disagreements that we have, the conflicts that it leads to. It's so important to understand that it could be resolved. It's not easy, but it can be resolved as well. And that is by modeling calm behavior. There must be times when your teenager's voice increases and your voice increases as well. And there is just this constant argument and bickering, and there is this disagreement that often then leads to conflict. How can we resolve that? How can we model that calm behavior? It's so important for them to understand that you as an adult are struggling as well. So you could say something, I'm feeling a bit stressed about work, but I'm going to take a break and breathe deeply to help myself feel better. You can also say, it is tough, but I can find a way to manage it. And if you feel you're getting too overwhelmed with all of this, what's happening, the conflict, or you think this is really going to escalate, the way to de escalate that could be, you could say, I need a moment to think before I respond. Then you can go calm down and come back and continue the conversation as well. So I know modeling calm behavior is tough, but that is what is effective, and that will help you enhance and establish a good relationship with your child as well. So just reflecting on what we've done today, what is your takeaway? What strategies or technique will you try to implement with your child? What is that one technique that you think, yes, this is what is going to work and this is how I'm going to co-regulate with my child? So reflect on that. Try these techniques and strategies multiple times. Maybe first time when you do it, it might not work. You might just have to use these techniques and strategies a couple of times for it to be really effective. So that's it. We've come to end of our presentation. Thank you so much for using this valuable time for watching this presentation. I've got my details up. If there's anything, any queries, any questions, feel free to drop me an email. Have a nice day. Thank you so much.